Hello, TUFE Nation. My name is Jean Abreu, and I am the host of TUFEcast. Today's episode, we are with Rob Bouw. He's the director of sales of FITLIGHT, and it's a pleasure to have you here. We're going to have a nice conversation. To start off, I just want to say thank you, Rob. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. And it's a pleasure to have you with us. And to start, I want you to present yourself. Tell us more about you, what you do, so we get to know you.
Well, first of all, thank you, obviously, for having me on the show. Nice to see you again. I know we met each other a while back, but it's good to be here. So thank you. My name is Rob Bouw. I'm 42 years old. I'm the director of sales for FITLIGHT. I'm born and raised in the Netherlands, Holland. But I live and work in Miami, Florida, in the United States.
That's great. Tell us more about FITLIGHT. What is FITLIGHT? What is the product? Explain to us so we understand a little bit more.
Well, FITLIGHT is an LED-based reaction training system. And I have a light right here. So it looks like this. Lights are this size, and the color that goes around it can be changed. So the lights can be programmed with software in the shape of an app that you can download onto any device that you have, such as a phone or a tablet. And when the light goes on, you have to deactivate it. You have to deactivate it by either impact or by proximity, by distance, by motion, if you will. What you can do with these lights is you can train your cognitive functions, your brain, if you will. So if you have lights, I'll give you two examples. If you have lights in front of you on a wall and you do a quick eye-hand coordination, you're training your reaction time because you see a light, you touch it or you wave past it, and then the software gives you feedback on how fast you were, your average reaction time. If you would, let's say, for football, if you would have the most simple drill that you can do for football is passing a ball back and forth. If you add two lights, one light here, and you deactivate them in the meantime while you're passing a ball back and forth, you're forcing yourself, you're forcing your brain to do multiple things at the same time. While you're looking at the ball and looking at your teammate or your opponent to pass the ball, you deactivate these lights in the meantime. So you're forcing yourself to process all that information faster and faster and faster. That's what it comes down to.
That's great. That's awesome. And you work in many sports, right? Not only football, but any sports this is available?
Correct. So it started in Denmark, in Europe, actually. A former handball goalie. Obviously, if you're a goalie in handball, you get balls at you very fast. He designed a system called the Octopus Trainer. It was 8 lights with wires, looked like an octopus. To train the reaction time of his pupils when he started to become a coach after. And that was seen by a Canadian engineer. He bought it and redeveloped it to what it is right now, FITLIGHT. We grew through football in Europe. Teams like Chelsea were one of the first to adapt, and Man United were one of the first to adapt this system. And then it got picked up by basketball, by the NBA here in the US. And from there on, it went sky high. And now I think we sell into maybe 95 of all sports all over the world. And a lot of it is also healthcare because there's a big transition or a big overlap, I guess, between healthcare and sports. Because when you're training your brain, it could be concussion rehab, it could be physical therapy. So the overlap between sports science and obviously football is, or in this case, football is immense.
No, that's great. That's awesome. So let's go more into football because that's the public that we got here. Your experience in football, man. Tell me how great it is to work with the greatest sport in the world.
Well, you already said it. It's the greatest sport in the world. It's the biggest sport in the world, obviously. Because I grew up in the Netherlands. I'm 42 years old now, but I've been living for 7 years in the US. But before I lived in the Netherlands, I grew up next to a city called Eindhoven, where PSV Eindhoven at that time had players such as Romario, Ronaldo, the real Ronaldo, Navarro, if you will. So I saw these people play football. And that level of football, as a young kid, was unimaginable. It was great to see these players. Then when I got a little bit older, I got some new friends. I went to go see Feyenoord Rotterdam, another team in the Netherlands, play. And that, I'll never forget that game. It was a cup game. It was in overtime. It was a Thursday night. We won. And then people started like cheering and hugging me that I'd never seen before. And that's how I got caught by the virus of football. Fast forward, living here now in the US, working with a lot of football teams all over the world, getting to meet a lot of football players. It is something that I never imagined that I would do. But every time I get to talk about football, every time I get to meet people that are involved in football, I think I'm the luckiest guy in the world.
Definitely, those experiences, those are the ones that we never forget. The experiences, watching the games, going to the stadiums, the World Cup. That's definitely something that people never forget, and that's how people fall in love. This sport is so good, it's so great, and there's so many things that we can do with. We can impact so many people. But going back to FITLIGHT, okay, is FITLIGHT in Brazil? Tell us more about. How is the market of FITLIGHT in Brazil? Is that something that you guys are looking to attack or go more direct? Tell us more.
Yeah, good question. So FITLIGHT is in Brazil in terms of that we sell directly from North America into South America. So also Brazil, obviously, a lot of Brazilian teams, athletes, and I'd say Argentina, those two countries would be the biggest. Because our product up until now has been relatively inexpensive product, because we're the premier, the elite product in our industry, if you will, because our lights are the most durable, the most programmable lights that you can think of. And when I say durable, you can hit these lights as hard as you want. You do not have to worry that they'll break. Because of that, it has always been relatively inexpensive product for some players or for some people to acquire. Now we managed to lower our cost. We managed to introduce a new type of FITLIGHT in the industry, and with that, we're confident that we can sell more into South America, and that is going to be one of the three main goals for 2024, is to broaden, I guess, our industry or our market in South America, and therefore also in Brazil. I do want to mention some notable clients that we already have in Brazil. My dearest client is Conti Fit. He's a guy that knows, he's a sports scientist. He trains, the only thing he does is cognitive training with his athletes, and he's mainly focusing on race car drivers, and I believe he's in Sao Paulo. What he does is same thing like I said before with football. He just takes any existing training protocols and he adds lights to the existing protocols. So he's forcing his athletes to do multiple things at the same time, and therefore training the brain of the athlete to process information faster. Because let's say we would play football together. If you outrun me on 100 meters by a second, if I'm half a second faster here, then I will always win. Because if I kick the ball, if I make the decision to kick the ball faster than you can run, then I will always win. And you play football mainly with your legs and with your feet, but it's your brain that operates the rest of your body. So you need to make a decision here first in order to operate your feet or your legs. And therefore, it's a no-brainer to train your brain for sports.
That's definitely what coaches say a lot, is the decision-making. Decision-making is essential into sports, is essential in football. You need to know when to do it, how to do it. So it's the brain. If you're not ready, if you can't think fast, it's so difficult. You can have the talent, but it's so difficult to perform. So it makes 100% sense. And in this going into that, is that something that you guys look to, like, work with clubs, to provide to clubs, or is not normally more directly to personal trainers, or like directly to athletes?
A good question. And there's been a transition. It used to be more personal coaches, personal trainers. And there's been a shift in the past couple of years within football. Let's take football, right, in the world. As before, you would have your team, you would have your coaches, they would have their own physical therapists, and they would have a very strict schedule on what you can do and what you cannot do as a player. You would train 2-3 times a day, a couple of days in a week. You would have your game, you would have your rest day, etc. But now, more than ever, each player, and it doesn't necessarily have to be an off season, each player usually also has their own personal trainers. Here in the US, it's been like that for years and years and years. In Europe, they're more adapting that as well at this moment. And what you see, the transition now is that before it was more personal trainers that got the system for their clients. Now it's more the team that or it would be a trainer within a team that wants to adapt new technology, and they see the benefit for each player. And because the system can be used for so many different aspects of sports, again, let's take football. If you go onto to a field prior to the game, if you do a 30-second, just quick eye-hand coordination with our lights, you'll notice that your brain is activated. It's called a mental warm-up. You're focused better. It's like everything is going in slow motion. That's why a lot of race car drivers use our lights before they go into go sit in their car. And then obviously, like you said, decision-making on the field, scanning, see what opponent is where your teammates, who is free, as recognizing patterns, using your peripheral vision. So it's definitely more transition from the coach itself to a team where they would have permanent installs in their training facilities with the lights, so every player can use it as they go.
I got it. And for you, how important is for a club to invest in this kind of situations, in this kind of product? Because we were talking about this now, and for clubs, I don't see it how clubs don't look at something like this, because it makes so much sense, it makes so much sense. And how important for you is to invest in this, because this is an investment, the end product is the players playing at the game, but there's a long process to make that before the end product. So there's a lot of process, there's a lot of trainings, you have to invest in a good coach, of course, you need to invest in a good psychologist, you need to invest in a good analyst, assistant coach, fitness coach, but investing on systems like this, I feel that's necessary, For you, how important is this?
Obviously very important. And when we talk about an investment, we also talk about return on the investment. So what are we talking about? We're talking about a system that ranges from $350 up to $2,000, which gives you our biggest system. So for a professional soccer team or a football team, sorry, I live in the US, so every now and then I say soccer, but for a professional football team, or not even a professional football team, if you would get a system that's worth, let's say, $1,500, and it's really a one-time purchase, because the system it's indestructible. The only thing that you need to replace after 2 years are the batteries inside, so it's not that much. And you can use that system for every single player in your team. You can use that system every single week. You can use it off-season. You can use it in-season. It gamifies whatever you're doing within your training sessions, because it's difficult for a player, whether he's injured or not, to always maintain the focus, to always maintain the energy to constantly perform when it's not a game day. When there's a game, there's a certain energy and adrenaline that kicks in. We all get that. But if you do training, it's not always fun. It's not always nice to do the repetitive exercises that you do with training. So with a system like FITLIGHT, you can make predictive training protocols reactive, meaning that if before you would know, okay, I have to run to that cone, go right, run to that cone, and then come back. Now, all of a sudden, each cone has a light, and whatever light goes on, I have to run to that one. So now I don't know what's going to happen. It gamifies what you're already doing. So it makes it more fun. That's one. Two, it gives you immediate feedback, and it tells you how you did. So that's why at FITLIGHT we say move, measure, motivate. First, you move. The system will measure how you did and give you feedback, and that will motivate you to do it again tomorrow. And the same, one of the most difficult things to replicate in sports training, I guess, is the game day feeling, the adrenaline. When you go onto the pitch, you have the fans, you have your opponents. It's the nerve that kick in. If you use this system with all your teammates around you, you have a certain score, let's say 19 lights in 20 seconds, and your teammate has 20 lights, deactivates 20 lights in 20 seconds. What do you want to do? You want to reach 21. So you see your teammates look at you, so you feel a certain pressure, and that is what athletes need.
Yes, the competitiveness. This is normal to them. They play a competitive sport, so this is inside the athlete. So it makes 100% sense again, and I will say that as many times as I need. But as we talk here and as we met in an event of Clarence Seedorf School SK, and that shows like how. Someone, a professional athlete, someone that's not only a professional athlete, a big-time professional athlete, sees the importance of this kind of products, of this kind of systems. But going more over Clarence Seedorf, tell us more how nice and how is the experience of working with a world-class football player?
Well, it's. I have to say, I don't say this often, especially not in a professional setting, but it's really a dream come true. Multiple levels. First of all, Clarence Seedorf is one of the most successful football players in history. Won 4 Champions Leagues with 3 different teams. It's insane. He played at the highest level from the age of 16. He's still so fit that he will outrun us all. He, in his career, used light training systems and like years ago already. He saw FITLIGHT, I believe, for the first time when he played at AC Milan. AC Milan in Milanello, their a training facility, it had a huge setup with 30 lights in their basement. Beautiful setup. And throughout his career, Clarence started working with Alex Evangelista, his sports scientist, his physical therapist. Alex, a great guy that I got to meet years ago. And then we started talking about the importance of using FITLIGHT for training. And then at one point, Alex messaged me saying like, hey, we have a project. Clarence Seedorf is involved. And I'll never forget that moment because being a Dutch guy, Clarence Seedorf is obviously Dutch as well. Having seen him play throughout the years, having seen him perform, win everything there is to win, it was really a dream come true. Now, fast forward, obviously, this is a professional setting. When I first got to meet him, it surprised me, and maybe not, but I guess it did surprise me a bit how nice he is, how humble he is, how much he wants other people to be successful as well, how he's able to build a team around him for him and the entire team to be successful. That's just beautiful. And then when we, as FITLIGHT, heard about the cause that him and Khabib Nurmagomedov are opening up their SK performance clubs around the world to give back to kids, to give kids access to sports, to training, to physical exercise, to state-of-the-art equipment, so kids can be whatever they want to be. And that is what struck me the most when Clarence Seedorf said, we do not necessarily want to create the next best football player, but we want to give kids access to training, to physical exercise through soccer or through football training, and then so they can be whatever they want, so they get confident, so they can achieve in life whatever they want to achieve. And if you give back to society in that way at his age, then that was it was an easy decision for us to partner with them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Really, really. When you talk, I remember when I worked with Solomon Kalou, was pretty much the same thing, you know. Kalou was in front of me. Now I can say this when I'm working, of course, you know, in a work situation, but now was awesome, you know, to see someone that I used to play video games with, and him and Honda, you know, and to see those guys here in front of me, it was amazing to see how they wanted to help the next generation. I think it's the biggest thing that we can, you know, these players, they got everything, you know, they want everything into the sport, you know, but they still want to do it. They want to do it for society. And I think it's so big, you know, it's so big, this kind of things. And it's great to work with something and someone like those guys, you know. And talking about the kids now, the next generation, you know, what advice do you give to people, you know, they're watching this, they're listening to us? What advice do you give to them? The people that want to be in your place, to be at some point, you know, working with top athletes, working in sports. What advice would you give to the kids, to the young ones that are watching us?
A couple of things. Try, if possible, try to travel as much as you can. The reason why is try to meet as many different people as you can, many different cultures as you can, because it will enrich your own life. You will grow through other people. Have an open mind. Don't always judge people on what you see or what they say, but try to see or try to understand the story behind somebody, where they come from, why they say certain things, why they do certain things. I was always, as a kid growing up, because I was really a big fan of Feyenoord Rotterdam, and I never wanted to leave where I was, because Feyenoord Rotterdam was one of the most important things in my life. And when I got to a certain age and realized, like, listen, there might be more into life than just football, then I moved to the US, and I got to the opportunity to travel, and I got the opportunity to meet other people and other cultures. And in the past 7 years, I've grown as a person so much compared to the guy that I was when I was still living in the Netherlands. So that would be by far the biggest advice that I wish I'd known that when I was still living in the Netherlands. So that would be my biggest advice to other people. Now back to also obviously what you do for TUFE. Learn English, learn languages, if you will. The reason why is I'm fortunate enough to grow up in a country where we learn English from a very small age, from a young age. I have a niece, she's 11 years old. She already has an hour of English in school every single week. So we learn English through movies, through music, with subtitles, etc. I know in certain countries that if you watch a movie, the voices are dubbed over. Try to see a movie with just subtitles. Try to listen to what you're hearing, and you'll see subconsciously, all of a sudden you start recognizing words, you start recognizing certain sentences. And then when you travel, just try to talk. Use your translating app on your phone. Make an effort, because when you try to speak somebody's language, people will always appreciate you. They'll always help you. They're like, okay, take your time. So try to learn and invest in other people's cultures, languages, and backgrounds.
No, that's funny that you say that, because this is one of the things that we pass to our students here. You know, watch movies, put with subtitles in Portuguese, try to listen, try to use things that you like to do on your daily basis and put English, because this is it's necessary and it helps so much into the learning of the language. And I hope that Brazil one day becomes like Netherlands, because I know you guys have very good English, and here it's not so good. So I hope that we kind of change this mindset, and the people here, the new generation, starts to understand how important this is, but I agree 100% with what you said. And to finish, fun fact. Do you have any fun fact to tell us, something that happened unexpected, maybe with FITLIGHT, or something that you experienced it was unexpected?
Meeting Clarence Seedorf, for sure. I never, ever imagined I would do business or be in a team with him, be a partner with him, not at all. However, I'd like to go back to my own team, Feyenoord Rotterdam. A week before I moved to the US, my team, Feyenoord Rotterdam, became champion. For the first time in 18 years, so this is 2017. And it was the very last game of the season, and it was 1 week before I was going to move. And Diretor, big player, used to play for Liverpool, the Dutch national team, many championships. He, after 38 seconds, scored the opening goal. Then he ended up scoring a hat trick in that game, and we won the championship for the first time in 18 years. This was something that nobody had ever imagined happening again. It was great, obviously. Fast forward, living here in the US, being involved in football, being involved in business, being involved still with the Netherlands, I got invited to a reception organized by the Dutch consulate in Miami. There was a trade mission coming from the Netherlands for a trade show here in Miami. And who is there? Diretor. And I got the opportunity to talk to the guy that I idolized, that scored that goal after 38 seconds a week before I moved to the US. And all of a sudden he's standing in front of me, and he's just a normal guy like you and I. And he still had time for a fan moment, and he still had time to talk about FITLIGHT. He still had time to talk about life in general. And that to me was that. At that moment, I realized, okay, now I did something great, and that was a big achievement for me.
Yeah, 100%. It's crazy. Life is we can say that life is unexpected, And when we do good work, good things happen. When we have the dream and we daily work on it, great things happen. Rob, thank you very much for your time. It was a great talk. Great time talking to you. Great to see you again. I hope we can meet each other soon, and I wish you all the best. Thank you very much again.
Thank you so much. Likewise, I do hope that we see each other again, hopefully in Brazil, because it means that I get to travel to Brazil again. And in the meantime, good luck with your podcast and with TUFE and TUFE Nation. Muito obrigado.